Welcome to Shoe Leather Faith. My name is Robert McMillan, and I'll be your guide today as we go through this series, a new series I'm starting on love within marriage. And we're going to deal with the 4 kinds of love that are found in the Bible, primarily looking at the words that are found in the New Testament. And I'll get into that a little later. Now, all the material I will be teaching in this series on love within marriage, I'm putting together in a small book, about 50 pages, and I'm going to make it available to you free on my website, shoeleatherfaith.org. It's not there yet, but before we're halfway through with this series, it'll be up there. You can download it absolutely free, no conditions, no nothing. I don't want your home address, your email address, or anything like that. You just download it and use it. Use it for your own use. Use it if you're teaching a Bible study on marriage and family. If you're doing pastoral counseling of some sort for somebody who's getting married, perfect. If you're getting married, you should go through this material. Also, if you would be so kind as to subscribe to this channel down below, and if you like this video, click the like button. If you have any comments or questions for me, put them down below and I will respond to them. So let me get a little personal here. I've performed a lot of weddings in 40 years of pastoral ministry. Some of them have truly been performances in which I pretended to be hopeful for the young couple and they pretended to be serious about the vows they were making. They were talking about tying a knot, and they may not have realized it, but it was a slip knot. The commitments they were making to each other in these wedding vows weren't sufficient to stand the strain of living in the 21st century. A pastor's opinion, for the most part during a wedding, is not wanted. It's something that church-going people are stuck with. Their opinions are not particularly wanted. I would much rather do a funeral than a wedding. With funerals, the recently departed doesn't come back to you in a year and say he doesn't like it and would like to be undead, thank you very much. Nor does a funeral require 3 or 4 months of pre-deceased counseling to make sure you understand what you're getting in for. And due to the iffy natures of marriage these days, couples occasionally tell me they were only kidding when they recited their vows. I've heard that. All that being said, a pastor cannot simply accept a jaundiced view concerning marriage. It is a holy joining, and God puts His name on the stamp. This book is my expression of hope for couples embarking in marriage. Now here's what I found about couples getting married. Very few of them have seen a successful marriage. Maybe their parents broke up. Maybe their parents fought all the time. Maybe they came from a single parent home. They don't know what a marriage of a man and a woman are. And we live in a day in which the very concept of marriage is mocked and derided by a worldly and wicked media that's putting out more and more fiction about what marriage is. In the Garden of Eden before the fall was a perfect environment containing 2 perfect people. 2 people who, on the day of their creation, were married. They never lived a day as single people. They didn't have pastoral counseling. They didn't have a wedding ceremony as we know it. They didn't start dating or courting. They didn't meet up in a pub or online. They just started off. As soon as they saw each other, they were married by God. They were husband and wife. Every reference in the New Testament to Adam and Eve is to Adam and Eve as a husband and wife, not as a prototypical man or a prototypical woman. So remember that. Adam and Eve were created and instantly married. But if you think about this perfect environment in the Garden of Eden, even in that perfect social environment, the institution of marriage was necessary. Adam and Eve didn't need a government. They didn't need religious establishments, whether synagogues or churches. They didn't need laws. They had one and they broke that. They just needed marriage. We now live in a less than perfect society. way less than perfect. We may be sailing around the cultural drain in circles of ever-decreasing radii until we're finally disappeared down the hole. We truly are in the last days, and I'll get into a series on last days prophecies one of these days, because it's very close. As our culture circles the drain, we need well-established marriages producing healthy homes and families on which to pattern our lives upon. We're going to look at the 4 loves that I find in the Bible. The English word all by itself is what Humpty Dumpty and Alice in Wonderland called a portmanteau word. It can carry any of the baggage you put into it. He said, when I use a word, it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more nor less. And that's what the English word love has come to mean. Whatever you want. It can be anything from, man, I love a chocolate fudge sundae right now. Or, I love that person so much I want to have sex with them. It has become a synonym for lust, sexual lust. So it's got a broad spectrum of meanings, and you've got to be very careful in the context how you're meaning it in English. But in Greek, they had 4 words for love, and we'll go through them. The first one is agape. When God says he loves us, this is the word he uses in the New Testament. When we use it, it comes directly from our frontal lobes of our brains, and it means I will always act in your best interest. That's agape love. It's not dependent on emotion, although there's emotional involvement involved. When God loves something, he's emotionally involved with that person. When we act in the best interest of our wives, our husbands, our children, our emotions are involved, but it must come from here. As an act of the will, I will act in your best interest. As we were created in the image of God, some of his characteristics were transferred to us, and one of them was the ability to love the way God loves. Not at the extent that he loves, but in the manner in which he loves. Agape love. We can always act in the best interest of someone. In 1 Corinthians 13, which is referred to often as the love chapter, all of the words used for love in there are agape. Love doesn't seek its own. Love doesn't agape its own. And it's one of the 3 greatest virtues. There's faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these is love. Why the greatest? Because it's the only one of those 3 great virtues we're going to see in heaven. Heaven is a faithless, hopeless place. That sounds harsh, doesn't it? It's faithless because everything that we believed in is reality. We're seeing it all around us. There's God the Father on the throne. There's Jesus the Son. There's the marriage supper of the Lamb. There's all the saints from all the ages together. And there's heaven all around us. There's the angels leading us in worship of God the Father. There's no faith there. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, of things not seen. Well, we're seeing them in heaven, so there's no need for faith. What about hope? Everything we ever hoped for here on earth will be realized in heaven. So we don't need hope. But we do need and will experience love, agape love. So keep that in mind. And remember, I told you when you get there that don't look around for faith or hope. And you can buy me a cup of coffee and say, doggone it, Robert, you were right all along. The second word isn't found in the New Testament, but it's implied in a few places, and it's also implied in the Old Testament, even though it's not used in the Old Testament, obviously, because the Old Testament is Hebrew, not Greek. Eros is that word. Eros was the god of love or lust or a number of things. He changed through the centuries. Eros as a word is not found in the Bible, but it's implied many times. It refers to erotic or romantic love and includes sexual activity and emotional attraction of one person towards another. Much of the Song of Solomon is dealing with erotic love. It's an erotic love poem. It's R-rated. That's why you never see Song of Solomon taught from the pulpit, or rarely. I taught it once and I almost had to have a paper bag put over my head because I was blushing so much. And it was for only those 16 and older. All the teenagers younger than that had to go out of the auditorium. This type of love was created and blessed by God as a way in which husbands and wives can express the intimacy of a one flesh relationship. He created it that way. Sexual love or romantic love, both of them were created by God for our enjoyment. Erotic love should be restrained until marriage, towards each other prior to marriage. In the remarkable erotic love poem in the Old Testament, the Song of Solomon, there are several references to restraint as the beloved and the Shulamite maiden act towards each other prior to their marriage. Turn to Song of Solomon chapter 1 verses 7 through 8. The Shulamite starts talking. Tell me, O you whom I love, where you feed your flock, where you make it rest at noon. For why should I be as one who veils herself, literally a prostitute, by the flocks of your companions? If you do not know affairs among women, this is the beloved talking, Solomon, follow in the footsteps of the flock and feed your little goats beside the shepherd's tents. He's providing a safe place for her to meet with him. She's asking for that safe place. They know it's a risk. They know it's dangerous, so they need to be where other people can see them. And in Song of Solomon chapter 2 verse 7, it says, I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or by the does of the field, do not stir up nor awaken love until it pleases. That's mentioned several times in Song of Solomon. Don't awaken love until it pleases, until it's the right time, until it's the God-blessed time. As she committed herself to purity, she gained two great treasures. She gained the trust of those around her who were responsible for her, and the peace that attends it. In Song of Solomon 8:10, she says something that seems strange to us. I am a wall, and my breasts like towers. Then I became in his eyes as one who found peace. Her reference to considering herself a wall comes from the previous two verses of the Song of Solomon, verses 8 and 9. We have a little sister and she has no breast. In other words, prepubescent. The family's watching as she's moving into puberty to become an adult, a woman. What shall we do for our sister in the day when she is spoken for? If she's a wall, there's that wall again. We will build upon her a battlement of silver. And if she's a door, we will enclose her with boards of cedar. A young woman who's committed to her sexual purity and understands the dangers sees herself as a wall, an impenetrable wall, and she gains peace as a result. And she gains the trust of her family. The peace comes from having made the premeditated decision before the temptation arises. The young girl who is a door, it's not a moral issue, it's just that she's not as aware. There's little chance of the success of purity when she tries to make the right decision if she's all sweaty with lust, and especially if she's sitting in the car next to her sweaty with lust boyfriend. Eros is a wonderful gift from God, but only works properly in the sole environment of marriage. Any other application of Eros is merely fornication. I didn't say that, God did. That's all we can cover today. We will finish up the last two of the types of love in the Bible. And I hope that you'll continue on and learn from this. If you have questions, put them down below. I'd appreciate it. Subscribe to this channel so you get notification of the next one coming out. I usually publish on Tuesday and Wednesday. So like this video, subscribe to this channel, leave your questions and comments down below. I'd appreciate it.